2, 1.
Welcome to the TowerCast podcast, the Towering Quarantine podcast for the Towering Quarantine filmmakers. How's it going, everybody? It's
that was a tongue twister, my God.
Well, I'm glad I've woken up your ears, and we are all here today with some guests via Zoom. How's it going, everybody? Who's in the room?
It's me, Jonathan Gonzales, your co-host. Thank you for that beautiful intro. How you guys doing in this quarantine time?
Doing well. It's Michael D, the guy not behind the board, so that's nice.
We got Michael De La O. We got Carlos de la Torre.
Yeah.
Say what's up.
Got a blood doctor, apparently.
We got Austin Young. Say what's up, Austin Young.
The one behind the board today.
Wow.
Ooh. Taking jobs. And then we got what is this guy? He's hiding.
International man of mystery.
International man of mystery.
And then we got the man in the show, Jesse, the director.
Oh, yeah.
How are you? I'm so happy to be here and talk about this wonderful gem that we did, Precognition. Thanks to you all guys. So let's do this.
Let's do it. And then we got Michael D. Head.
How's it going?
Hey.
Okay,
we have a really good
Didn't we have Michael Head the last episode?
We did, and we've had a lot of these people before, so it's going to be very interesting to see what
and a lot of new
he has to talk about, because this is I don't know, like we've talked about the Tower 20 throughout all of season 1, and I've always said that this particular movie is kind of like a combination of all the things that everybody's learned from this crew, and you really see it. So from Michael D. Head's amazing DPing to Jesse coming in with his amazing skills, and the actors that we will also be bringing into the call as we move along with the show. So as we move forward, who wants to talk about Precognition? What exactly is this movie about, Jesse?
Ooh, Jesse.
Well, Precognition. I can talk about a little bit how it came to be.
Okay.
Jonathan will join, of course, a little bit later. But Jonathan and I started on a writing group with another film group, and we met each other in a 48-hour film festival challenge the previous year, and we created this writing group where we shared basically ideas, so we can see if one of those could possibly be workable. And Jonathan created a bunch of scripts. He has this ability to write real quick. And this one particularly caught my attention because it touched themes like supernatural, the paranormal, and also, real life issues.
I gotta ask Jesse.
Yes.
I gotta ask, do you believe in psychics? Before we start with this.
I do feel like some people have the sensibilities, or they develop those sensibilities more than others. I think we all can somehow create that within ourselves, but
really
gambling, right? You all kind of predict the future. At least we feel like
they feel like
like you can feel how can I say this? You can feel intentions more than anything. Like if you see a people, you can read what he's really about. Mm-hmm. And I think based on that, you can go wonkers and do other crazy stuff. But this script that he did, the group that we were in, they were not very, they didn't share the same enthusiasm as we did. Mm-hmm. So we decided to do it ourselves, separate from them. And basically we started revising the script. I added some stuff. What really caught my attention also was because it was really easy to do. It was just one location. It was just basically the house. And I felt really, how can you say that? comfortable directing this one because it was easy. It was a theme that I wanted to explore. And of course, me adding everything a little extra, I added some new scenes and made it a little bit complicated. The dream scene, I think that's one of the things that I added.
Really? That wasn't in the original script.
It was like a VO or something like that. She woke up, so we didn't really explore that.
No, but that was one of the most interesting aspects of the movie, man. Like having that like sort of like the other side or whatever it was called in the Stranger Things show, but like you have like this you push that aspect of the film where, you know, she's a sidekick, but you know, I mean, is she really in that area? We don't know. I mean, for me, that's how I interpret it. Like, that's just kind of like the feeling of precognition, I suppose. But it was really cool because you utilize the visuals to let us know that, you know, so-and-so is not a good person and he is responsible for like some horrific acts. That
in the original, yes, in the original script, it was a bit different. It was played like a backstory more so. And we had a scene with a bunch of kids, like all the kids that you see in the posters. They were supposed to be like live kids, you know, that would interact with the actor, and also that would be a hell of a nightmare to do that. But we changed that part a little bit so we can play around more with it. And
I think it helps because a lot of people may not know this, but Jesse is a very talented person. Like, not only is he a master at Photoshop. If you check out his Instagram, he makes these beautiful pictures. And so, you know, you look at his pictures and you can understand why a man of his liking would choose a movie like this. And you know, the fact that you're very visual, I think that's really cool, man, that you added your own little touch to this.
Well, I gotta ask. Oh, okay, my bad.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Were you the one that created the logo at the end?
Yes, the sign was.
Yeah, the sign.
Of course, it was a part of the script. We see that she
was beautiful, dude.
She is a working psychic. So one of the things that we talked about it was, how are we going to do that? Are we going to buy a real prop or not? So I started doing research, and those signs are expensive.
Yeah, neon signs are expensive.
I mean, with the budget we had, which is zero, I was not going to spend X amount of dollars on that. I prefer to, you know, invest in the actors or the production, whatever.
Exactly.
So I saw I do some graphics work, so I was like, I think it's easier if we do it as a matte painting or something like that.
Wow.
What program did you use, man? It looks real.
I use it's done in both Photoshop and Premiere, basically.
Oh man,
I don't think people just realize like the weight of what he just said. This movie had $0 to its name, but it looks really expensive. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Jesse, as a director, was that one of your goals, man? Like, did you go about, like, because you've directed movies, like you did a short film called Narco, and then you did Act of Contrition, and then you did Precognition, but you've also starred in a couple Tower films like Night Shift. So like, in terms of like your background, like how ready were you for this kind of movie? Because
good question.
It looks clean, man. It looks really clean, and for having it have no money to its name, you've really you and the crew have really delivered. And because of Tower, like, you know, all these combined forces, you guys really delivered something that looks amazing.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify, I didn't do Act of Contrition. That's Jonathan.
That was Jonathan. You're right.
Yeah. I just helped a little bit with some fixes here and there on the editing and the poster. That's all I did for that one.
Hey, that's a lot.
And mind you
but-
guys, it's the same dude who designed our Tower podcast logo. So, like we have a lot to thank.
Yeah, everybody knows Jesse did that. What's up?
Yeah, if you hate
Jesse
it,
not only
blame
did
him.
the poster and quite a few of our posters actually, but he also did this podcast logo, and he also did our Tower intro. Okay, so like the intro you see in the very beginning of our later Tower 20 films, probably the second half, Jesse created that. He created that intro for us. So we had this rinky-dink kind of intro that we tried to put together.
Hello, I'm Tower to like
And
our production.
and we kind of told Jesse the concept, I think, just in passing, and this amazing man one day was like, "Hey guys, I was bored and I had some extra time on my hands, and I put this together." And we're like, "What?" Like it was just amazing, man. It's just the type of dude that Jesse is. But
And I gotta ask Jesse, was that the theme you were going for? Because it has like the title Precognition is a neon light. Was that the theme you were going with?
Yeah, since I was, going to create the sign from zero, well, I imagine why not use the whole, neon to do the lettering to
Because most psychics use that, right? Because they're the ones that are open at night and they can read your palms, lure you in.
Yeah, and it gives you that vibe also. So
Exactly.
Can I throw in something real fast about the sign?
go for it.
Jesse,
Michael.
when we were on set, Jesse asked me to be the DP, and I was totally honored, and it was a lot of fun to do. But one thing that we talked about in terms of the sign was, if you notice, there's a large globe hitting both the wall and the actors. That's the same color as that neon sign. That was very intentional. That was an on-set light we were using. It was a practical light, because when you have something that's supposed to be glowing and it's not putting out the right light, people recognize that. So we had an on-set light to kind of indicate that, and just use that to build on. And that just to throw in the importance of practical lighting for special effects. And that's something that I think Jesse did a fantastic job of putting the sign together. But we also used that, even just the idea of that sign that was going to be added in to help motivate a lot of the lighting we did, especially when they're on the outside porch.
I think it goes.
Did you guys shoot at night, or was it a lot of trouble? Because there's a lot of lighting in this one.
That's the beauty of the cinematography that this guy Michael did. I was hoping to get the night vibe, but of course we worked with kids, with one kid.
Yeah.
And the location was not available for us 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, Michael, he on everything he did was he knew what we were aiming for. So it's a night vibe, yes, but also playing with secondary colors. I was like, I would like purples, greens, and oranges.
Yeah.
And he was like, I got it. And he made this beautiful set of lights, and it worked. It worked because, of course, he touches on the theme of the neon throughout the film. And it's fantastic. It looks fantastic.
What did you use, Michael? Was there any hassle, or just an Amazon Echo type thing?
What?
This is Amazon thing that glows. I don't know.
The Amazon Echo.
Hey man, sometimes you're in a budget.
Real life hacks here, all right?
I'm just gonna blow right past that. Jesse gave me Jesse wanted to. We talked about when he brought me on board. He asked me. We talked about the use of colors. I have a couple of very small RGB lights that I got, honestly, just off of Amazon, that are kind of inexpensive, and that's what we used a lot to light the walls. For the actors, I actually have a little LED bulb that I put in. Whenever you see that lamp that's behind them that has an LED bulb in it, and I match the colors up with what we were doing with the walls, just to kind of, again, motivate that lighting. We shot both during the day and at night, and if you notice, when we have, I think all of the porch stuff was at night. If I remember right, we shot all the porch stuff at night. The first kind of session between Tessa and Sherry, where the way we're looking, we can see the window and we can actually see that it's night. So we establish time of day using that. And we put lights outside. If you notice, when we brought Greg in for his stuff, we flipped that. We crossed the 180 line. We jumped the camera to the other side of the seance, the session. What are we calling it? Session reading?
Reading.
Possible attack site? I don't know. Physical attack site too, because he got attacked. Oh, spoiler alert! There's spoilers.
No, go watch the film before you come.
Yeah,
here.
go watch
the film first. Sorry. We jumped the line because I believe that was a Saturday, and we had to shoot most of our stuff during the day. And so the first thing that I did was I gave Austin and Carlos a bunch of plastic bags, and I said, "Here, cover up all these windows." And they had these. It was a super nice house. I don't remember the guys whose house it was. It was super nice. He let us in. It fit the vibe of the film perfectly. But he had these gigantic. What was the name?
Andy Truitt.
Andy.
Shout out.
Props to Andy.
Guy.
Good job.
He was
Thank
fantastic host. He was really good to us.
We actually blacked out all the windows you see when you're looking at Tess and Sherry. We blacked out all those windows, and so we kept that night feel, and we were able to control the lighting that way. And that was something, when we flipped the world, I did that on purpose because I didn't want to see. I've had shoots before where I've blacked out windows, and the window is in the shot, and you can obviously tell that it's got something in front of it, and that annoys me greatly. I don't know if anybody else notices. It annoys me. So that's why that's part of the reason why we flipped the world on the second reading session, so that we could control the lighting but still have more time to shoot during the day. And we did have some time constraints because I know Greg actually ended up being there a little longer than he anticipated. But it was a lot of fun talking with Jesse, getting the concepts down. And that was also where we did the special effects shots for the ghost and for the flashback.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that dark scene where you seen the wanted posters. How did that one go? That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, we used one of the side rooms that the house had.
That was like the green room, basically. Like that's where we put all the equipment. That's where we put the food and where we put the guests or the cast that were waiting for their next scene. It was the green room, basically.
Yeah. So basically, we blacked out all the windows and all the light sources. It was basically a black box. And we just, Michael just light up, fantastically from above.
Yeah, a little spotlight on her.
And that worked. I mean, that's.
And who did the wanted poster? Was that you too? The wanted posters and the sirens.
All the effects were Jesse for sure.
Yeah,
really.
I wish I had it with me. I still have it.
Practical effects.
It was all
Michael.
practical. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll see if I can bring him in a little bit, but so you can see.
Really cool. One of the things I noted, because this was like one of the films where I had like some more hands-on with you guys and stuff. Like I was definitely helping out any way I can, and I remember thinking like how aware of you of how like confident were you, man, in just directing something that was so special effects heavy, because from your previous works, like, I mean, I don't know, like that this must have been like quite a jump, unless you were just going into it fearless. But it was very interesting to see this jump for you, where this is like a blockbuster in many aspects. So what was your initial feelings going into a project like this?
Well, before I jumped on that, I wanted a group of people who knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a few groups that could help. And the more I thought about it, the more the name Tower Production came to mind.
Of course.
I was like, these guys know their stuff. They're constantly, doing stuff. So
we appreciate that, Jesse.
I knew based on, I think you were in the half of the Tower 20. If I'm not mistaken. And one of the films that caught my attention was the one you previously talked about.
The last
Michael directed it.
Poster Girl?
Poster Girl. Mm. And I was like, I want that quality of image, so these guys can do it. So to me, the first thing that came to mind was the quality of image. After that, the visual effects, I think, you can go around with some of it. But initially, if you know the group is hardworking and they deliver a good quality image, go for it. So that was my initial reaction to that.
And I think that
Beautiful
it helps
words.
because Michael Head and it's funny that you mentioned Poster Girl, because when we did that episode, we really broke down like why it looked really crispy. Like it just looked really nice and expensive. And again, just production value is through the roof on that one too. And Michael is very, like his mind goes towards lighting a lot. And
Yeah.
he sort of knows like how to, really pop the actors with it and utilize the location and enhance the image quality because of that. And I think that it's really cool that that's the stuff that you kind of like latched onto with Poster Girl. And when you come over here with Precognition, little things like how he just mentioned, like he literally unscrewed all the light bulbs and from the lamps to everything around. And he bought these like how he mentioned, like these light bulbs where he can control the light. Like he really
nice
enhanced this picture. So I think, like you, as a director, man, you really knew like who to go for the image you wanted. So it just, again, adds to the fact that you are a visionary.
I want to jump in here and just discuss kind of how the dominoes fall into place for any filmmakers listening out there. It's a process, and you have to trust the process, and you have to trust the people you're working with. And Jesse had a bad taste in his mouth because he had previously worked with somebody who wasn't giving him what he needed. When Jesse and Jonathan came to us with this project, that was the first thing they told us was, we're not having a good time on this, and we need help. And the setting off the dominoes is if Jesse wouldn't have chosen Michael for his DP work, and they wouldn't have worked together on how this film was going to look practically, the special effects aren't going to fall into line. They just aren't. Yeah. And I think that the planning, what I'm trying to get to is planning the entire film. We planned, luckily, Jonathan and Jesse had done a bulk of the pre-production. So that was a weight lifted off our shoulders, and they just needed the bodies. They just needed the people doing the heavy lifting on set. Because I have to point out that post-production was mostly Jesse, and the color timing on this film is beautiful. The color timing on this film is fantastic, but
there's a nice palette.
Wouldn't have come into place without the practical lighting being on set the way it was, how Michael put it. So all the dominoes have to fall into place, guys. That's the only way this is going to happen. And though we jumped on this project primarily for production and distribution to help Jesse and Jonathan out, they did the work that counts for this film to come out the way it did, So it's very collaborative. It's very feedback heavy, giving each other notes, watching various cuts. I mean, you have to go through the entire process, and I think it's important to mention that. So
yeah, but also don't diminish the work that you guys did. It wouldn't be even close of this possible.
Teamwork.
This is the first time that I met Juan.
Juan.
Yeah. And he was really, by the way, working Juan
was very graciously helping us cover up windows, doing everything on set, on top of actually also getting some behind the scenes footage. So
unlike other people,
this was one of the first sets that we
my bad.
But we did have, this was one of the first sets we had Juan on for, and he's
I loved every set.
And everyone from Eric and Rick, I didn't found any, since I edited the film, I didn't
shout out to Ricky.
Audio mistakes at all. So the audio was on point.
Everybody doing their job. Exactly.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I almost fainted on set.
What happened?
We were in the green room for a minute, and it was my fault. I was wearing like a sweater for some reason, and it was like,
we had the
whenever we filmed it like May or something. And I remember like we were in there for a minute, and I was like, I was really fighting to stay, and then I started like to faint. I was like, no, I gotta go.
No.
We had to send him home. We had to convince him to go home.
I'm seeing three.
Yeah, they had to convince me to go home.
We had to convince him to go home. Man, a lot of funny things happened on the set, man. We had unfortunately we broke one of the lights.
I was just gonna ask that to Michael. What happened with that?
We just had to replace it. Yeah.
It wasn't one of my lights. It was one of the house lights.
It was one of the house lights, like from the
the thing is, it was a lamp that hang
hung
really
super
low.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Oh
Like, with the
yeah,
boom?
I forgot. about
No, the lamp was over the table, and we ended up moving the table into the living room to be the kind of session table.
Right.
And so you ended up with this open space with these super low hanging lights. And I don't remember who did it. I don't want to call anybody out because I don't
Yeah,
remember
it doesn't matter.
Somebody
but-
tall.
I hope it was.
It doesn't
Somebody was walking in it. We hit it, and it cracked. It was just like the container, the casing of it. But it was this really nice lamp, and I felt
Just the
really
important
bad.
part of the light. That's all that broke, right?
The
Yeah.
producer immediately
And,
panicked.
A little bit.
Yeah,
Well,
Austin was freaking
he
out. but
ended up,
we offered to pay for it, and
That's good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're lucky I wasn't even there on set when that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have flipped out, dude.
No, I had to tell him on that. When Austin's not on set, I'll be basically his stand-in as far as producing goes. That's very important too, man. Please do not, filmmakers, do not, I repeat, do not underestimate the power of a producer and what they do for you before you're on set, while you're on set, and when the post-production is going in order. Austin carries a very big load and doesn't get it as much credit as he deserves. I mean, obviously we all help Austin produce, and anybody that's an exec in Tower, that's the point. We have these meetings, we get together and we produce everything, but don't underestimate the power of a producer on set. They can save your production from falling out of place, man. They really can. So Austin, I think you were the AD for this film as well, right? Or maybe I was, I don't remember.
Yeah, I was ADing as well for this film, getting everything all going.
Yeah,
but usually just because of my work schedule, I was always running late to set.
How long did this shoot take? You guys said 1 day, 2 days?
No.
Like a week.
Probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks type of deal.
Yeah, it looks good.
Total
quality.
shoot days. I think total shoot days was 4. If I
Actual
remember
shoot
right.
days?
Yeah, total because we had 2 days in the house. We had 1 day at the park, and then we had
the park
1
scene,
day
that's right.
going back for the special effects, the blackout, the black box special effects shots.
I think
If
we
I
had
remember
more
right.
days in the house than that.
Did we
Yeah,
have
I
3
think we
days
had
in the house?
3 or 4 days in the house. I mean, some of them were half days, but
Yeah.
And when
The
zero
cool
budget,
thing about Michael and Jesse's team up though is that like it goes back to like the night shift. So Michael, like what do you think is a very strong pillar for you two's like relationship on set? Like what's something that you really admired about each other? Either
I'm asking the question.
if you're directing him or if you're his DP, like what about this particular duo do you think works very well on set?
We seem to communicate really well. I don't want to say we like read each other's minds, but in terms of just getting ideas across, we're usually really good about going back and forth and saying, is this what you want? Yes, this is not what I want. And just talking about our goal, putting it together, because that's what directors, actors, DPs, because we've kind of played around with all 3 of those roles with each other. It's a collaboration. So the director shouldn't be the only one saying this is the way it has to be. The DP should have some input. The actor should have some input on the characters, and that works really well. I know later on, I actually asked Jesse a couple of months ago, I think, several months after it's been released and everything, I was like, did you really like the way the effects turned out? And he honestly was like, there's some things I would have done differently. And if we'd had a little more time for doing some test shots, that would have, we would have been able to reach exactly what his goal was. I had an idea in my mind what it was going to be like, and just with time constraints and what we were working on, we ended up. I thought it looked amazing, Jesse. I think you did a fantastic job.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Michael, something I wanted to ask you was, as a DP, is there anything that you kind of like don't want to hear coming from a director, or anything you find helpful when you're trying to have that collaboration? Because it's 2 different fields. It's like the director's trying to focus on acting and their abilities and also creating the scene, but then you have the whole lighting and trying to set dress in some ways to really create that kind of tone and effect. Is there something that you feel like maybe directors would say to DPs that doesn't help out as much, or doesn't kind of like they don't understand as much, that you feel like this kind of helps towards collaboration than other comments or questions?
I can't really think of anything in particular. I've just had really good experience working with the directors that I've worked with, both here and when I lived in Dallas before this, because so much of it depends on the communication ahead of time. And that's something me as a DP, when somebody says, hey, I want you to DP this short, I ask tons of questions. I want as much information as possible about the look they're going for, the feel they're going for, so that when it comes time to be on set, I don't have to deal with lighting something and then the director saying, no, I don't want it to be like this. Because the phrase that I've heard before is every minute you spend on pre-production saves you an hour on set. And I really believe that when a director comes to a DP with a look and says, I want it to look like this, I want it to feel like this, when Jesse said, I want these colors, X, Y, and Z, and we were able to build around that, that makes my life easier because I have a very clear vision about what it's supposed to be. For beginning filmmakers or people that are just growing as filmmakers and directors, for me, I DP'd a lot of my own work when I first got started, and Carlos is still beating me up about not doing that as much. I'm trying. I'm working on it. But something that helps, in my opinion, and I've asked directors for this before, is something called a lookbook, where the director puts together, they take images of movies that exist, and they say, I want things to look like this. Now, I don't actually think we did this with Precognition, but Jesse had a very clear vision.
I think they had one, Michael, if I'm not mistaken. When they came to us with the project, him and Jonathan had a binder of the script.
Oh yeah, their pre-production was amazing.
Lookbook. So like, I think within that there was a lookbook that they had a clear vision for the entire thing.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And I do want to mention, I think it's important to mention when it comes to Michael and Jesse together, Michael and Jesse, if you know them in person, if you know them in real life, they are some of the people with less, if not non-existent egos. Like the egos go out the window when it comes to collaborating with them. They know a lot. They are two of the most talented people I know. They're jacks of all trade. They know every aspect of being on set. They both act. Okay. They both act. They both direct. They both know pre-production and post processes, and they don't make you feel small about it. If anything, if you have the pleasure of directing them, or I've had the pleasure of directing both of them as actors. I've had the pleasure of working with them as either DPs or post-production personnel, and they make you feel 10 feet tall, man, when you're the director. And I think that's the key thing between them both. Michael has directed Jesse as an actor, and Jesse has directed Michael as a DP. So I think that dynamic of making your director feel like you have their back, it's unmatched, man, between these two guys. And they'll do it for anybody that, if they love the project and they love who they're working with, man, it's unmatched. It's unmatched. So it's important to note that these guys don't let their egos get the best of them. And they could, man. They very easily could because of their talent, but they don't. So
it's very easy, I think, to fall into that. And I think Michael can double in this. You have to treat every person on set and as the same, as important as they are, of course. It's not only the actors, of course. They're there in front of the camera and they're selling you the story. But if they're acting, wonders, but the look of it, it's bad, it's not going to be effective. So you have to treat every single piece as important as they are. Of course, the sound, the people moving couches, all that matters in filmmaking. So filmmaking is not just, the director, it's his film. No, it's, it's a collaboration of people.
There's nobody on set that's not important. That's something that I always try to think about. Now, the director sets the vision, the director sets the goal and the direction. The director is the captain of the ship. But at the same time, even if, like Jesse said, the people moving the couches, if they don't feel value or if they're being let down, that's going to affect everybody, because
drop that couch right there.
PAs are your entry level positions in filmmaking, guys, and they're the ones that get the less credit, and they're the ones that do the most work. They hold they hold it down, man. They really hold it. They're the ones plugging the holes in the boats while you're captaining the boat. So
getting everything ready for the next scene to keep it going. Yeah,
it's crazy.
And if
everyone's important on set,
if somebody is mistreated or allowed to be mistreated by other people see it. It's generally you're in a small space, and that's going to affect just the feel of the entire set. And so that's something that's very important, just to treat everybody on set as if they're important, because everybody is important. Filmmaking is not a solo sport. It stinks to do it by yourself. I've done it. It's not fun. So
And
everybody is
not good.
Speaking of teams, though, I honestly want to say that we're missing somebody here right now. I think it'd be a good time to bring in the writer of Precognition just to keep things flowing and stuff. But you guys really delivered. I would say before we move on, what's one thing that you learned from this project that you hadn't previously learned in any other?
For me,
And be honest.
If you know something is going to involve some pretty intense special effects, try to do some test shots ahead of time, so that way you get a very clear vision of what you want versus what you can achieve on set and how you do things. And like I said, I asked Jesse about, was he happy with how it turned out? And he told me, honestly, it wasn't exactly what I had in mind. If we'd had a little more time to do some tests, that could have helped us out. So we could have gotten his vision exactly the way he wanted. But I mean, with what he had, I think he did a fantastic job building that together and putting together those effects.
Yeah, I guess what I meant with that was that I wanted to add more cinematic, per se, shots, because I wanted on one scene when Tessa, when Liz, the character, she's looking through all these photos around her. I literally wanted her like a camera going around.
Oh. And see, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I could have. There's ways we could have done that. Get a spinning chair and
they're still working. You know how guys are. They're still working on the film right now.
Yeah,
beautiful, man.
But because of the time constraints and we had basically pressured from the actors, because, well, one thing that we did wrong was to cast the people before we had everything rolled in, you know. And so we had the schedules already locked in. So that didn't allow us to have more playtime.
Now, typically, for those listening out there, and I promise I'll be brief because I know we got to get Jonathan in here, but for those of you out there, usually you want to go through that process where whoever's your production company or your producers, more specifically, you want them to kind of organize all this with you. Like I said, Jonathan and Jesse have done the bulk of the work, but usually it's Austin and myself and Eric Sanchez getting on people's cases about, hey, man, we got to get a casting session. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to organize the schedules. And we didn't do that. In this case, if anything, it was Jesse and Jonathan coming like, we already have everything set in place. We have location locked down for these dates. We have cast locked down for these dates. As a producer, that's a little frustrating because you feel like you don't have control of the situation, and that as a producer, that freaks you out. Though it lifts the weight of having to do all that, everything is left to chance because everything's already set in stone, you know? So, but when you can organize that ahead of time a little better, guys, especially working with your cast and their schedules, you're going to have a better time. You're going to have more time to do what you want, in a sense. I think that's kind of the element that we were missing here. Was just to be able to give, because usually we like to give a certain amount of rehearsal period. We like to give a certain amount of test shots and camera tests for all of our directors, and we can't do that if we don't set the first domino off. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I guess that was the reason why we couldn't play around more around, you know, how the visuals would work. But to me, everything came out perfect.
It did.
It was better than I expected. Michael just gave me magic, and I was like, I'll play with it. And I'm really happy. I don't get the wrong idea that I was not happy.
Oh,
about
no. I know. And you did great. You did a great job. But
you delivered, man. The images are ripely striking, and like the lighting is just it really grabs you into this like adventure. Because I mean, like, I don't know, like we'll go. I have many more questions to ask you as a director, because one of the things that I did like, and I noticed that you two are very nice on set. And as being a new guy, I felt very invited because of that. But you are a very nurturing director, and I think that this movie does tackle some heavy things. It's not just a movie about, sidekicks and stuff. It's actually a story about a mother coming to terms and facing
Closure.
so to speak. So there's a lot of heavy stuff going on. And as we go on, we'll discuss it. But I think it's time to bring in Jonathan because, we all know Jonathan is a very eager person. So I don't know how we're going to transition, but I think now would be the time.
Wait, he's going to talk.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely he's a very passionate individual, He'll give us an Independent Day speech.
Jonathan Gonzales.
Well, Michael, I don't know if you're gonna hang tight with us or if you're gonna take off, but thank you for your insight, at least on cinematography and sharing about practical lighting. I feel like, at least that's my favorite realm. So I feel like it was just really interesting hearing.
Very insightful, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
We can hang out for a few minutes. I'll mute my mic so you don't hear me slipping.
Thank you.
I'll hang out for a few minutes.
Work. You always do beautiful work. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Jesse. Good job. Good film.
And many more.
Where's Jonathan?
We got Jonathan on Austin.
We need the writer.
Well, we figured that out. I have to thank Michael for the fantastic cinematography. It would be a different kind of film for sure. So thank you for the bottom of my heart. I wish we can do some more stuff together. I'm sure we will because we're doing some stuff together. But thank you for all the knowledge that you bring to every project. And thank you for the work that you do to all the new students that you teach.
Thank you for great vision, direction, doing all the legwork that made our lives so much easier. So, good job. And the special effects. And the fact that you can be like, I was bored, so here's a new logo. We're like,
I know.
Thanks.
But yeah, do we have Jonathan?
We do have.
Yeah, you guys got me.
What's going on, Jonathan?
Hey, how you guys doing?
The writer, the one and only. What's going on, man?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm just here. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
My goodness.
How's the quarantine treating you, man?
It's treating me well, man. I'm just here working, surviving. Just
are you a hoarder? Are you stocking up?
Nope. This is just like a typical summer for me, except now I'm doing it because I don't want to get sick rather than it's just too hot outside for me to go out.
I feel you, man. So just getting right into it, man. How did you think of this story?
So I actually thought about this story when I was actually, I think it was October. Me and Jesse had become familiar during the first, I think it was the 2017 48-hour contest.
Yeah, he was telling us. That's right.
Yeah. And so we had been kind of collaborating a little bit and trying to find our footing with where we wanted to do with the project. And so one of the scripts I had was based on the idea of somebody stuck in a house with somebody who had done something horrible, and what would somebody do in that situation, which was, would you call the police or would you let that person who was wronged take their own personal vendettas and actually do that,
Yeah.
And so I thought about it, from that approach, I kept thinking to myself, what would I do in that situation? Because we kind of play those scenarios out in our head a lot. And even though we say, well, we like to think we're going to do the right thing, there's never always, a black and white answer. There's always a gray area where you go, you know what, this isn't 100% right, but I understand why you're doing these decisions.
Yeah. And just like I asked Jesse right now, I guess I have to ask you too. Do you believe in psychics? Is that why kind of?
Let me put it this way. Do I believe in dead people floating around going, ooh, of course not. But I mean, an energy, a life force, a soul that upon death separates into another plane, crying out to the living in a horrible wail of pain. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, definitely. So how did you write this script? It wasn't something personal, like, I've gone to psychic before.
No, this was just more something I thought of, and it was just more just trying to play it off as grounded as possible. So the thing about Jesse's direction was that he created a scale and a sense of vision that I did not have. And with me, I thought of it as a little bit more grounded in reality, and it would have been a bit more camera trickery. So I just thought of it as simplistic as possible, with it being more about, the psychological, factors that play into it, nothing really where the only thing that she has is a hint of possibility, but there's nothing is very conclusive until he acts upon what's going on.
Right. One of the things I adore about Jonathan's writing, and me and him have spoken a lot on set. I think during the filming of What's Funny, we had a really long conversation about just Star Wars and a bunch of other things. And I won't speak too much about what you were talking about because it was a future project that hasn't been done yet. But I do remember.
Come on, spill the beans.
I can't do that. I can't do that to him. But
I won't tell anybody, man. Just tell me.
One of the things that I immediately realized is that he loves to put himself in the shoes of whatever he's writing, whatever topic he's writing, and it's very prevalent in Precognition because you have it. For me as a viewer, I helped on the behind the scenes stuff, but I always like to put myself in the viewer's shoes because I love to watch movies, man. So as a fan of this movie, I love how it's almost got that midsummer vibe where like you're really tapping into like the themes of mourning and emotional trauma, and it really, I mean, beautifully acted by Sherry, who we'll be talking to in a little bit. But I love the writing in that aspect because, you know, having the dynamics between the characters propel the emotional climax to where, you know, you come face to face with the man responsible for something that you did, like it has caused you a lot of pain. I mean, you really know how to escalate things. And because of Jesse's directing, we also get to see that play out through these actors who were given the ability to be themselves freely through these characters. So, you know, one of the things I would want to ask you guys right off the bat is, since you guys really do have a good dynamic and it's been, you know, built up to this movie, what sort of things did you guys discuss about on set? Because Jonathan was on set for a lot of the film's scenes. So what was that dynamic like to have sort of the screenwriter there, and how collaborative were you guys in the process of Precognition?
So when we had talked about it before when I finished the first script, and Jesse liked it a lot. He had told me that he had actually really enjoyed it, but he wanted to enhance it a little bit more and get a little bit more of his own personal input. And so when I gave him, you know, the creative freedom to ask for that and to use the script, you know, I had to give him access to that. And so I was wanting to respect his direction, his vision, because even though it wasn't exactly the way I would have done it, it was exactly what his vision was, and I had to respect his choices. And I think because of that, we were able to appreciate each other's creativity. And in the end, a lot of Jesse's input was what brought the film and enhanced it so much because of how much scale and scope he gave to it, and how it wasn't what I envisioned, but he added so much to enhance the experience itself. And so it was more an experience where I took that, even though everybody has a different vision, it was more a learning process that you have to appreciate everybody else's outside input that helps you grow as a writer or as a filmmaker, because there's always something that somebody else can bring to the table that can, you know, add something that you didn't expect from it before.
Yeah, you have to respect the original idea. So I did wanted to add a few things here and there, but without touching the core of the story.
Right.
So the things that I added was more like for me to explore and to give more understanding on the viewer side of the things. You know, we added, I think, the last scene, I think, because the original script ended with the character Aiden coming home and they embrace each other, and I think that was it. Like, finish the story. So I wanted to have a moment for Liz to close the whole deal. I think that was going to be important for the audience to understand, like, okay, what's going to happen? What's next? So things like that, mostly, but always respecting the source, which is the script, the wonderful script that Jonathan did.
Who came up with the ending, man? I thought that was pretty interesting, how before they go get the hot chocolate, they're like, hold on, and then he turns on the sign. Who came up with that? I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's Jonathan, yeah.
So that was actually a fun little bit. So there was a line that didn't make it into the script where it was actually supposed to end with him saying, like, hey, 1 sec. And when he turns on the lights, she was supposed to respond and say, like that's cute, honey, but I'm off the clock. And then she goes, and he goes, hey, I'm just trying to be supportive. And then they just kind of have like a good little laugh, and then it just kind of closes with the credits. But
why'd you take it off?
Oh, I don't think we ended up filming it. I think it was by accident or something like that.
Can you?
Decided?
Yeah, we decided to leave it out because on that day, Tessa was very sick.
Yeah, she was pretty bad that day.
So they didn't hug on that scene. They didn't kiss, which I wanted, but she was sick. So I was not gonna do that. So it didn't make sense to add that little glimpse at the end. Also because the film was already too long. Already,
I thought it was a perfect ending. Perfect ending.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's one of those where he finally believes her.
I think we have Michael, the child actor. I think he's on with us. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, Mikey!
Welcome to the
podcast.
Representing Spider-Man.
Yes, a lot of Spider-Man going on over here.
That's awesome.
He's my favorite superhero.
I don't know if Jonathan, you want to kind of talk just a little bit of like what kind of inspired you to bring Michael on, or Jesse, if you want to talk about like casting and trying to find like
before we go full with this wonderful kid, I don't know why the casting for the kid was kind of hard. Like nobody wanted to do this, maybe because of the themes that we were touching. But we had, I think, 2 or 3 kids who auditioned for the role, and he was very quiet on the video that we received from him, and that was exactly what I needed. Like his expressions and everything that he did, I was like, perfect. Yes, that's him. Thank you for him to do all this. He was very professional. He's working already on some other projects, so it showed that he's comfortable in front of the camera. And I know he can talk more about it.
What's going on, Mikey? How was your experience on the set?
Oh, it was real. The experience was real good, actually. It was real good.
Was
Mikey, I gotta say, it's an honor to have such a young and talented thespian in our midst. I gotta ask, like, how excited were you to be a part of the Precognition team?
Oh, it was very excited, actually. I was very excited. Me, my mom, and my whole family were like, "What? I got the part!"
Woo!
So and this film has a lot of cool scenes. It has a very like Harry Potter feel to it. Did you have fun filming those ghostly scenes? What was it like to be a ghost?
It was, first of all, to answer your first question, that it was very good filming them. The second question was like interesting, weird, but cool at the same time.
No, I honestly, I gotta say, we all know it, man. You really added like a nice little layer to this movie, because without you, like, we wouldn't have the heart of the movie, which is like, hey, this movie is kind of about you in a way. You're such a powerhouse. One has to ask, who are your top 3 favorite actors? Because where does that inspiration come from?
Well, my first actor he was in the film, Brad Thompson. And he was in the film. Now I work with him now, and I've done a few plays with him.
Really? Wow.
Nice.
Jackman and Jack Black. Did you know Jack Black played the role of Cole from Kung Fu Panda?
Yes.
And he's very funny. If I would have to give a silly award, he would have won first place.
Oh, really? So I got to ask, Mikey, why did you get into acting?
Excuse me?
Why did you get into acting? To be like Jack Black or what?
Well, I just like to act. I just like to act. It means like filming is like, I like meeting new directors and everything.
Well, speaking of directors, you had the luckiest chance, man, to work with somebody who was, I think, because you seem like you're ready. You seem like you're prepared, and you've been training for it all your life. You're like a little Orson Welles.
Motivated, confident. Yeah,
you have it all. And I think with Jesse being the nurturing director he is, what was it like to work with Jesse as your director? What do you remember?
And be honest.
Jesse was very, very great. He was kind and patient with me, and he was a very nice director. And he always asked me like, how am I doing? Because I'm type 1 diabetes, so that way I don't die on the set, really. I don't become the ghost really in the set.
Thank you, Jesse.
What was your favorite day on set?
My favorite day on set was the park scene because whoever gets to play and act at the same time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you think of the Tower Productions team? Did they impress you with their hard work, their ethic? What was it like for you to work under?
Yes, it was like super cool when I saw the film. It was like they actually made them the scene at the park scene when they make the whole black thing.
Mm-hmm.
They made it look real, like she's like really imagining it.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
And what's your favorite movie of all time? Like, what's a movie you love to watch?
Oh, I love Kung Fu Panda 1, Kung Fu Panda 2, and Kung Fu Panda 3. Kung Fu Panda 3 is my favorite one.
Well, I gotta ask, who's your favorite actor then? Jack Black?
Oh, Jack Black. Oh my God, he's so funny. He played the role Poe very well.
Yes, I love him too.
Have you seen School of Rock?
Yes. It was. I like that. He's on the floor at the very end. He's twirling. I wonder if he was gonna break the guitar or something like real rockers could have done.
Well, here's a very interesting and personal question. Out of all the Spider-Mans, which one's your favorite one?
I think the Homecoming.
Homecoming, yes.
My mom loves the Homecoming.
Oh, Michael. Oh, man. It's okay. You don't know any better. I'm just kidding.
No.
Jonathan.
Tom Holland's amazing. I'll defend that.
I'll fight for Hope.
He's okay. I'd say he's better than Andrew Garfield.
Ladies, I just want to announce that currently on the TowerCast podcast, you have 3 Michaels for the price of 1.
Oh, that's right. You get a Michael.
Oh!
Michael, I have to ask, what was something new you learned about acting during Precognition? What was something new that you were like, wow, being on this set, I walked away with this?
The ghost scenes. I actually noticed that how are they going to film the ghost scenes? Me and Mom were asking.
Yeah.
And then they put me in the dark room and they covered out all the windshields, all the windows. That way no light can go through. And then he pulled out a stand. And then, this is gonna be your mother. I was like, oh, I was like, in real life, okay. But in the back of my head was like, what? Because I was expecting eyes or a mouth on the stand or something. Just a complete thing. Maybe even ears.
Real quick, I don't want to throw you guys off, but before I ask my final question, I want to see if you guys could sing me one of your favorite Disney movie songs from Aladdin.
Before we
all of us,
yes.
All right, easy. I'll do a whole new world because that's my favorite Disney song of all time.
Okay, let me turn on the volume. Hold on.
I can do You're Welcome from Moana.
Let's do it.
I like them. You know which song I really like better is Prince Ali. Prince Ali, the genie before the genie actually met.
Yeah.
You guys sang that on set. I remember you guys were singing that on set.
Wow. You got to keep going, Michael. Come on.
All right.
Give us a couple of 5-10 seconds.
Now try your best to stay calm. Brush up your 5-day salon and come and meet the spectacular Coterie. Prince Ali, Amarity, Alia, Bob.
It's catchy.
Nice.
Regular men, definitely. I can go on.
Face the galloping horse.
Mikey for you guys.
Let's give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen.
You just started making.
The final question. Any advice for actors of all shapes and sizes?
Yes, I have a little advice from me when I was a little kid. Never give up. Never give up for anything of what you do. If it's like a really hard challenge, never give up. Never give up your dream.
Do you want to play a superhero one day in the movies?
Oh yes. I want to be on with Spider-Man. I want to be with Spider-Man.
No, you have to be Spider-Man. What do you mean you want to be with him?
Oh my God.
I think that Michael is, mark my word, you heard it here first on the TowerCast. Michael is going to play Miles Morales when he gets just a little bit older. He's going to play the live action Miles Morales.
Oh, I could see that.
Ooh. You know what my favorite dream was if I ever became super successful is to play the role of what's the movie called Les Miserables? I want to be in that play too.
Wow. Very impressive, Michael. That's awesome.
Big dreams.
You keep them.
A million dreams. I have a million dreams.
Keep that confidence, man. You're gonna need it. We all love it.
Thank you.
Jesse, anything you'd like to say to Michael about your experience working with him?
Of course. As you can see, this is the reason why I chose this wonderful actor. He impressed us with that very song one day on set. I think we were between setups, and he was like, "I'm gonna change. I want to sing." So he was like, "La la la la," and he just made. Yeah, he just made the set really happy for that time. So I know we will see more of him soon.
We have to thank his parents too. His parents were on set, and they were fantastic. They're fantastic with him, and very flexible and very understanding and patient. And thank you for allowing him to act and allowing him to show his talent to the world, because it doesn't need to be seen. And thank you for allowing him to work with us specifically on this film, because he makes the film. He makes the film.
Yeah,
definitely.
So stay safe. Keep dreaming and never give up.
Yeah, keep acting.
Yes, never give up.
Never give up.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Mikey.
Hi, Michael.
Bye, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
I can see why you picked him, Jonathan.
It was me and Jesse for that matter. But I mean, he's got a heart of gold. He's a great actor.
Yes.
And he's got so much energy and charisma. And he was just a blast to work with. And he was just so fun. And he was just so happy to be on set. And, his likability is just so contagious, Yeah,
and the confidence, such a young age, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, most definitely.
What was something you guys think propelled you guys to write a script that needed a kid around that age? I mean, I know you wrote it, Jonathan, but one of the things I noticed very, very clearly on set is that you two kind of were very you guys created a playground for not just Michael, who, obviously the little kid, but also for the other actors. You guys allowed them to really hone in their emotional scenes, and hopefully we can get them on in a little bit. But I
have a question. Oh, my bad.
What was it like to direct somebody that's so young, but could deliver your goals for the movie?
Well, again, based on the number of castings that we had, he was a godsend because he was not only professional, but he was comfortable on any level. He knew his lines from memory, so I knew I was not gonna it was not going to be hard for me to do that part. Also because the script was so meticulously well written that it was easy to follow. So my rule is to treat every actor the same, old or new or child. So I knew that he could deliver.
As an actor yourself, Jesse, I think it's important to note kind of almost the golden rule, where treat others how you'd like to be treated. And you've certainly had your experiences on set. So I think it'd be interesting to talk about how your transition is from acting to directing. And you are very much so an actor's director. I can vouch for that. So I think that's something important to talk about.
Well, yeah, based on how you work from the actor's perspective, I understood how, certain directions would be more meaningful, if that makes sense. And him being a kid and not having this much experiences, I try to level myself as a parent, basically. I wouldn't treat him less, of course not, but you would use different words as you do with an adult to convey the same message. Basically, that's the only difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, someone has just entered the Zoom call building. We're looking at, would you go by Brad Thompson or Greg Thompson?
Bradley Thompson.
Bradley Thompson. What's up, man?
Well, Brad Thompson. Brad, basically.
Brad?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. It's good to have you on. So, I mean, I guess we'll just start to jump into some acting questions. We have a man here who has so much experience. He's been acting in movies dating back to 2001 and all the way to, 2020. And,
Nice.
we are very lucky to have a man who's been such an experience. Am I not mistaken, man? What kind of experience do you have? And I'm just throwing it in here, but from movies, and you've also done some stage productions. Have I heard that correctly?
Well, I mean, mainly I'm a stage actor. I graduated from Baylor in 2001 with a BFA. Nice. I did regional theater for a couple of years, and I joined Actors Equity in 2004 and moved to New York.
Wow.
And I lived in New York for 15 years, mainly doing regional theater. So I would be cast out of New York, and I would go to Arkansas or Vermont, New Hampshire, different places to do a 68-week gig, and then go back to New York and audition for something.
You do have a very thematic presence to yourself, so I definitely feel it.
But Brad, your character is very interesting, man, because I think we've all been there where we kind of, question our significant other, saying that they saw a UFO or something. How did you channel that for this one, not believing that your wife was talking to ghosts?
I mean, I think it's pretty easy. I'm pretty skeptical by nature.
Yeah, me too.
So for me, it wasn't much of a reach. I almost thought of her as a bored housewife, just trying to pick up some sort of hobby for herself.
That's what I got, exactly.
And trying to encourage her to find something different, because he just doesn't believe it, in my opinion.
Because, well, first of all, I got to ask you, like I asked everybody else, do you believe in psychics? That they could talk to ghosts?
Not really.
Yeah, right.
No.
So that kind of fed into your character?
Yes. I mean, I think Aiden is very practical, practical minded. He's a businessman, and he just doesn't really believe in the occult or the supernatural. I think he thinks it's a bunch of hogwash. He's willing to humor his wife because it is his wife and he loves her, obviously. But I think it's a point of contention.
Right.
Well, I think your character is the most important part of the film, because you kind of you're the most normal one. Like, you're the one that hasn't been affected by some sort of tragedy. You're the one who doesn't dabble into anything that's very supernatural. And you're kind of like the Han Solo, if you will. You're kind of like the one that we would be like, oh, what's up? What's up with you? Like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And then we talked about this early in the podcast, where at the end of the movie, this scene that was added later on kind of helped sort of alleviate any feelings that the audience might have. So your character does play an integral role in this, because it's kind of like that scene in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, where you have this crazy story that first takes you through this one character. She dies midway, and then at the end, you have this scene where the detective kind of breaks down, like, all right, so here's what happened. Like, this guy's weird, and he's a little too close to his mom, and like, you kind of break it down for the characters in a way where it becomes a case study because of that. And I think your character, through your acting, like, you really sold that leveling us down for the audience and explaining the story, sort of seeing it through your eyes. Because I think for a lot of us, we would probably relate to your character more than anybody else.
Especially at the end when he transitions to, oh, wow, you were about to you found the kidnapper, that transitions to, oh, I believe you now. Let me turn on these lights.
And for those of you that don't know, Brad is very, very active in the acting community here in El Paso and in Las Cruces. I think, can you talk a little bit about that, Brad? We've seen you in a ton of stuff from plays to films all around. And I think you're a very well-rounded actor, very experienced, very professional. And I think it's important for our listeners to know that there's a good community here, and you're a part of that community. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, I've explored a little bit. When I moved to El Paso from New York, initially, my right now I'm at UTEP. I'm studying to be basically a teacher. I'm a master of education. But I dabbled. I started doing there's a murder mystery series. I found the advertisement on Craigslist, and that was on the West Side. And that's kind of how I started getting into the community. That's how I met Sherry, actually. And through that, I made connections like Joseph Fernandez, who also goes to UTEP. We did a film together. I did a film with Luna Soleil when they were still in existence, which Jesse was a part of as well. And sort of through that, I met people. And I also was referenced to the Porter Theater.
So your background is or you developed mostly in New York? Is that where you're from?
No, that's not where I'm from El Paso originally.
Okay.
And then I went to Baylor, and then from there I moved to New York through a period. And I lived there for 15 years before coming back. And there is a good community in El Paso. You have to go out and kind of find it.
But it's here. We don't want to speak too, going back a little bit to the missus, we should probably be careful with what we're saying because we actually have her now with us on the Zoom call. So how's it going, Tessa?
Ooh, Tessa.
Hello, it's going good.
How's quarantine treating you?
It's doing all right. Trying not to go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So we got Brad here. We were just talking about you and the characters. How did you guys blend in so well?
I think we had good chemistry right away when we met, and I think the whole crew, we just all were real comfortable with each other.
What was one of the things, Brad, that you feel like added to your guys' scenes? Because, again, we start with you two and then we end with you two. So you guys do kind of have this like hero's journey. What was one of the things you two both sort of like held on to the most in terms of getting into character and selling what the script was, projecting in terms of message?
I mean, I think the script. Well, go ahead, Tess, please.
Oh, well, the way that I really got into character was I was in a previous relationship where I wanted to do something that, so I was really able to dive into those emotions and just be the character. Nice. I also am into laws of attraction, and I, on the other hand, do believe in psychics and have had a lot of experiences in that aspect. So I was able just to pull from those.
Funny thing is that they both, Greg and I mean, Brad and Tessa, they worked together in a previous film, and Tessa killed Brad in the film. So it was funny that now they're together.
Yeah. Full circle. Makes sense.
What was your guys' attraction to this project, Brad and Tessa? How do you guys get attracted to this project? And upon meeting Jesse and Jonathan, what was the dynamic there between writer and director for you guys?
Well, I mean, I had worked with both of them again in the previous film, and I had also worked with Tessa in the previous film as well. And when I read the script, it was fascinating to me. And originally, I actually auditioned for Greg's part.
Yeah.
And then, they asked me to do Aiden, and I was happy to do that as well. So it was just, it was an attractive script. It was interesting, and why not? Really.
Yeah, it was funny because we got the most auditions for this part and for Liz, and since I knew how to work with these actors, I was like, I have to give him maybe not the part that he's auditioning for, but hopefully he's gonna want to play Aiden in the film because he would be a good fit for it. And thankful he did.
And
go ahead.
And I knew Jesse was working on Tell Me Anything. He did the music video as well for that film. And then I know Jonathan, who wrote the script. I read a lot of his scripts that he writes, and I loved the thriller aspect. I loved everything, and I love working with Jesse. He's so talented, and really just he did a great job in directing, and all around it was an awesome experience filming, and it was so much fun. And I love the whole cast, and I miss everybody in El Paso.
Nice.
How's that side of the country treating you, Tessa? We know you've left us. You've been over there for a few months now, if I'm not mistaken.
It's definitely a change of scene. I had just started getting back into film and networking here, and then the quarantine happened. So I had some health issues for 6 months that I haven't been able to audition and do film. And just as I was ready to jump back into it, we've had this sad situation with the pandemic.
Right. So
Jesse,
Tessa,
what was it like to direct these two thespians? Do you remember anything specifically that you really felt like, wow, I'm glad I picked them for this part because of this day that they did, and something that made it happen that made you even more love them?
Yeah, in general, I was talking to Jonathan about choosing actors who knew their craft, who were already working actors, or at least they knew, the workarounds about it. And because based on the schedule that we had, we needed someone who could be on point and also deliver. And I knew based on the previous film that we did that these two actors and Greg also would deliver for the film. And I don't want to say that I was not mistaken about choosing them, but you can tell who's a real actor and who's not. And I was not willing to waste my time on someone who's not already doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we already had the time constraint and all that. So I needed someone as professional and as respectful as they are. And they delivered.
And Brad, I gotta ask you, coming from an aspiring actor to another one, on your character, did you base it off of somebody? Is there a certain actor that you kind of feed off of, kind of bite off of?
I mean, sometimes I'll do that, but not necessarily, particularly in this one.
You got your own style.
What's that?
You got your own style.
I mean, I don't really know. Everybody talks about a process. I'm not sure if I have a process necessarily. I read the script hundreds of times, just memorize lines and get into the story, and then it's basically just sort of playing an action and reacting after that.
Well, so you can let the audience know a little bit more about yourself. What's your genre? What's your type of movie? Like, what do you
my type of movie?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. I think comedy, really.
Really? You seem more like a.
Yeah, I know.
drama.
I do seem like that, but I'm actually a really funny guy.
Those eyebrows.
I think it's important.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten really an opportunity to do much of that, except here in El Paso at the theater, we were doing every month, and we did it at the Plaza a couple of times in the Philanthropy, a little sketch comedy show that Greg's been a part of.
Nice.
And we do 60-minute, 2-minute sketches. We also have some musical artists, so it's sort of a variety show. And we've done that at the Plaza twice, and we did it at the Border Theater a few times, and we also did it at different restaurants and bars. So that's sort of the outlet that I had for doing comedy.
You do have a very
in a movie, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people are making that around here. So
I think it's important to note that piggybacking off what Jesse said earlier, Tessa and Brad and Greg, I mean everybody in this film, and we've had the pleasure of working with some actors that take their craft very seriously, and that's the biggest gift you can give to your director, to the crew in general, because they care about telling the story just as much as you do, and they care about doing it professionally. They care about doing their homework. They care about developing a character, whether your process, like Brad, is to read the script 100 times and memorize your lines, as simple as that, or going deep dive into a character study. Everybody has their process. That's the biggest gift you can give to your director. I think Jesse can concur. And in this case, every single actor that was on set was highly professional, and it's always a pleasure to do that.
Well, Brad, you come from doing a lot of plays. Which one was the most challenging one that taught you a lot?
Most challenging play I was ever in, probably The Glass Menagerie.
Was there singing involved? Which one's that one?
That's a Tennessee Williams play. Mm-hmm. And I did that. It was really my first time ever playing like a full leading role in a professional setting.
Oh.
It was at the Dorset Theater Festival in Vermont. And I had never had to, I had played major parts. Like I played Anthony and Julius Caesar for a tour once.
Nice.
Dope. And that was rough too. The oration was tough to get through. But Tom in The Glass Menagerie is a very complicated character, and he carries the whole play. He has monologues throughout, and it was the first time I had ever been asked at a professional theater to actually carry a play on my own.
Be the face of the play, yeah.
Right, and so that was probably the most challenging. But it was rewarding. It was great.
Yeah.
We actually won a cast ensemble award for that. So,
well, the cool thing about The Glass Menagerie, though, is that play tackles a lot about overcoming yourself and dealing with things that kind of keep you in turmoil. So that's really cool that you were a part of that. And that's cool, man. I would love to see you act one day on stage.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to be a part of it, part of something.
Speaking of,
opens up. Theaters are in trouble right now.
Real quick, I do want to be able to see like Tessa, like you had a really awesome role in this. You really had
you cried.
Like you honestly this movie does have a hint of the movie Ghost in there, where it's like there's no ghost that teams up with the sidekick, but there's a mourning mother who teams up with the sidekick who's going to connect her with the person who kind of created all this turmoil. You had to sort of be a nurturing figure for this individual that Sherry played. What was that like? Did you what was your thought process like getting into this character? Because you really did play one of the most iconic characters of the Tower 20s, I would say.
The psychic.
Really, I have a different process. Other than my process is different than what Brad was talking about. I pull from emotions that are just part of me and experiences that I have had. I am a mother, so I already automatically have that nurturing personality.
Right.
That's just who I am. I really just pull from experiences and stay true to my character. I think that everyone has different emotions, different experiences. And we've all been different people at certain points in our life based off of our experiences. And I just pull from those when I get into character. And honestly, if I can't relate to that character, I won't take the role. But if I feel like that's just that I can really just be that character, then I just take it full on. I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel like I had to play any part. I was just being me and really just drawing out that aspect of myself.
Well, I gotta ask you.
And ladies and gentlemen, just so you guys know, Tessa's also a very talented singer-songwriter.
She does look like a singer.
She does song. She's done obviously a lot of her own original music. She's had a part of working on music for Tower films as well, which we'll talk about when we get to the Assumed episode, because she did some stuff for that. But Tessa's a very talented individual all around. So just make sure to check out her stuff, and you can plug that if anything you guys want to plug, guys. Make sure to shout it out here on the TowerCast.
Tessa, I have a question for you. Based on the character, what would you have done? Would you have called the cops or would you have called the mom?
I would have called the mom.
Really? Even though that you know that you're gonna get in trouble?
She really was playing herself.
Yeah.
The Aiden would have called the cops.
Yeah.
I liked that whole women together, coming together and kicking that guy's ass.
I do gotta say that's one thing that I
kidnap
really,
a child. I mean, I'll do the same thing.
No, that's one thing I really enjoy about this movie though is that it's a female-led like movie that like really, apart from it just being a female-led movie though, it's just a good story though too. Like it's just a really good story, and I think for me the visual climax is seeing you two staring down at Greg's character, and you guys going like, all right, like what's happening? Like we know what he's done. And I think in terms of your character, Tessa, like I feel like you absorb people's like emotional turmoil when you do those sessions. So you were probably feeling, if not exactly the same as the mother, because you got to experience her turmoil, and you got to see that vision that kind of put you in her shoes of, you know, of like, probably what she was thinking. This man took my son, and, you know, whether that was a real vision or not, that's just my interpretation of it. I don't know. But as a fan, I just think that visual climax was done because of you guys. So, you know,
with the husband,
awesome.
I believe in.
Awesome movie.
Well, you know, back to basing things off of, it almost took me back to certain things that happened in my childhood. My mom, my sister passed away when I was little, and so I knew what grief was for a mother that has lost a child. And so those kinds of things really just, like I said, I try not to act. I just try to be the character.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want, that's really awesome that you're being that role with us, because I think that part of the craft of filmmaking is that, and I think, you know, I just from hearing you guys all speak, I know Jonathan is very real, and he puts his heart into anything he does. Jesse's the same way, puts his heart into anything he does as well. Apart from just, you know, anything from the things that inspire him or he's obsessed about, you know, and Brad being the thespian actor he is, he knows that, you know, when you're on a stage, a lot of the acting doesn't just come from projecting, but as well as your body movements and how you utilize that. And, you know, Tessa, like you do seem like you put yourself out there in a way that not many actors would, because it is, and especially having a role that's one of the leads, it is very, it's a lot of pressure. And yep. I think you don't fall under that pressure. Don't fold.
I think a lot too, I'm the film people in El Paso. I pretty much know everyone there, and they were like family to me. The cast, the crew. I was just real comfortable with everyone, and that helps a lot. I was in my comfort zone, but you know, typically first day of filming, when I'm on set and everything's new, I do get a little nervous and whatnot, but after that and I get going, I kind of get a high from being on set and filming.
No, you have to applaud also the last scene. Like I mentioned before, she was very sick, and I guess you couldn't tell if I didn't tell you. Yeah. But she was really sick, and she was almost going to quit at that time because she was not feeling well.
I was running a fever, but it worked to my advantage because that really helped me with the emotions that I was portraying.
And also, she also had I believe a tooth infection or something like that day. I remember she had like something like that. Also, like an infection.
Oh yeah.
In tooth.
Yeah, I had I had an abscess, and I was not feeling good. I forgot about that.
But like I said, she delivered. So it was a nice scene, as well as Brad. They were connecting, and we were like, okay, we have to do this. This is the easiest way we can do it, and let's do it. And they were like, go for it. And thanks to the professionalism that they have, this film was able to be. So thank you for that.
I got a question for Brad. Brad, real quick, because I like to ask questions about actors, get their inside views. I know you've been in a lot of plays and probably a lot of TV shows and films. What's the worst one you played, and what's one that you've always wanted to play?
What's the worst role I played?
Yeah, like, what something happened in the set, you didn't get the character, that the director didn't like what you were doing, it was just the character you didn't understand. Or have you had any of those, or have they all been home runs?
No, they haven't all been home runs. I mean, I've been in some crap for sure, especially like in college or in community theater. Or, I don't know.
Was there one that was? Well, the second part is which role would you like to play? Which
role would I like to play? I want to play Macbeth, actually.
Macbeth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Macbeth is my favorite Shakespearean tragedy. Or comedically Shakespearean, I would like to play Sir Toby Belch from Twelfth Night.
Yo! Yes!
Toby Belch is awesome.
12th Night, yes.
I would love to play that role. I don't think I fit the character, but I still want.
No, man, you're a little schemy. You want to play the little schemy drunk guy? Okay, yeah. Exactly. I love that. That's a good role, man.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
The worst play I've ever been in was the first play I was ever in. It was in like 1993. I was 12 years old. It was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead at the El Paso Playhouse, and it was terrible. And I only had 3 lines. I played Alfred, which is a really tiny character. It's a great play, but that production in particular was just.
It wasn't your fault. It was just the production.
I mean, I was 12, so I didn't really know any better. But looking back, it was like 3.5 hours long too.
Oof.
And the only set pieces were like 2 fake rocks. It was rough.
Sir Toby Belch. How now, Sir Toby Belch?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Or Sir Andrew Egerchek is funny too. I've always thought I thought it would be funny to have always thought it would be kind of amusing to have sort of a cross-Atlantic cast with that, and have Sir Toby Belch be British and Sir Andrew Egerchek be his like American friend that comes over, like this idiot.
Wow.
You know, I've always been a great eater of beef, and I think that does harm to my wit. I think it would be perfect.
Of course, Sir Andrew, of course.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, real quick, I would love for everybody who's on here right now, who's been in the movie, either through writing, directing, acting, I would love for each of you guys to get a turn to say something that you loved about each individual person on the set, or just, having to meet them through the process of precognition.
Or any gems that you picked up on the way.
I guess I could go first.
Oh, yeah, or Jonathan.
Okay, so I loved actually working with Jesse because he's just so creative in terms of, having that spark and having that idea and then just going full force with it and expanding it into something that nobody else could have envisioned, before. I love that about him. I like his input. I like the fact that, he created such a scale and scope for the story that I wrote that I had never envisioned. And he brought that and he made his own. And I love that. I loved working with Tessa and Brad because I knew that before that Tessa felt like she was getting a little typecasted before when as the bad girl or something like that. And so I was glad that, with this role, it gave her a chance to kind of flesh herself out and become, someone who was a little bit much more grounded and much more respectable as a character. And I'm glad that she was able to, identify with that character, because when you're writing a script and you want these actors in these roles, you don't want just somebody to play them. You want somebody to be them in these areas. And so that's what I think enhanced it a lot. And then, Brad was an amazing actor. I just knew he had this charm and charisma and wit, and he was a blast to work with, and he just had so much energy, and he was just a really great all-around actor to work with. And then little Michael, he was fantastic. He had just so much, heart and passion and love for what he was doing. He was just such a little kid, and he had so much innocence and pure joy on set. And everybody from Tower was amazing. I just loved everybody's, interactions and dynamic. Nobody was there who didn't want to be there. Everybody was there, and it felt like everybody wanted to be there and have fun because we love doing what we do. And I think that's something that everybody should always have on set. They want to be on set during doing what they love. And that's what I think I got out of it. And Greg and Sherry were amazing. Greg was awesome. I was terrified of his character, especially the scene where he's smiling. Oh my God, that was unsettling.
Yeah. And the creeper.
And yeah, he's just an amazing guy. And I just love how he is with the way he does roles. And I just had a blast with everybody all around, because it was a story that I wrote that I did not expect to get the level of treatment that it did, because, everything, it felt like it would have been something much more grounded, and it would have been much more on camera trippy, but everybody just expanded it and said, no, the story deserves more than just this, and they just went full force with it, and I had a blast with that, you know?
Yeah.
Olga. Jonathan's great because he's so passionate about what he's doing, and like the care and the energy that he gives is awesome to be around, and I think it's infectious. Jesse's a good actor himself, and that makes him a really good actor's director. He's also very patient. He's very calm, and that really keeps everybody grounded, I think.
Right.
And Tessa's great to work with. This is the second film I've done, and I think we have a really good chemistry. Our processes may be different, but I think we work together well. So that all the people on set were professional. It was efficient. There was no wasted time, which is a big thing for me.
Yeah, me too.
Don't waste my time, really. And it was a pleasure. It was a fun day, fun experience. I had a blast doing it.
Awesome. What about you, Jesse?
Tessa. Yeah, Tessa.
Well, first off, Jonathan executes everything so well, and he has such a great passion for writing, and he's shared a lot of his writings with me, and I have a great respect for what he does, and finishing these projects and getting them done takes a lot of passion and effort to do that. I've always loved working with Jesse. He's so talented. He's so professional. Great job in directing and giving us the right instructions on how he wanted without being confusing. He's so down to earth, and he makes you feel comfortable when you're working with him. You don't feel uneasy. It's just like he really just has a way with the actors. And I was so excited to finally get to work with Sherry. I'd been wanting to work with her as another El Paso. She was an actress that I hadn't worked with yet, and I love her to death. She's a sweetheart. Just really flowed so well together. I loved working with her. Tower Productions, the whole crew, just so fun. So this was just such a fun project for me. I loved it in all aspects of film. It was great.
And Tessa, I know that Jonathan's saying that you've been stereotyped before. Just like I asked Brad, what's your dream role? Going away from all the stereotyping.
I've thought about that. A lot of times they want, I guess I do play a good villain. I don't know if you've seen the film where I play a killer. Really, I'd want something like a strong woman role, or a
Wonder
drama.
Woman.
Yeah.
I could see you're like an Enough. Have you seen the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez?
Yes.
I kind of see you doing roles like that. That's why.
Yes. Those are the kinds of roles I'm drawn to. I also like things like Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Little Women, those time period films. I love those. That would be something ideal for me.
Get the audience to know you a little bit better. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah. Well, I think two of the actors who also deserve a lot of the spotlight are Greg and Sherry, who unfortunately they couldn't be here.
Yeah.
But they also are very, very hardworking actors. Greg, the moment he sent the casting, I didn't even look at the video because I wanted him for the role, and of course he delivered. He was really good, and Sherry, I mean, I hadn't had a previous experience working with her before this, but I knew she could do it. She was really a working actor on that, so they deserve more than what they're doing right now.
I gotta ask you, Jesse, how did that bat scene go? You know, when he's beating the guy up, was that hard?
Yeah, Greg was really how can you say it? He was worried about it because the script was very specific on what was going to happen to him. You know, he was gonna get beaten down.
Yeah, and some actors get into it, so that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, so he on several occasions he was like, okay, so how are you gonna do this? How are we going to rehearse it and all this? And I was like, don't worry about it. Focus on this right now. And then he was like, are we going to rehearse that? Because, you know, so no, basically I knew right away that this particular scene was going to use, we were going to do it with camera trickery and editing. I didn't want to put him on that position of, you know, receiving, even with fake props, you know. The good thing about this is that you know the tools that you can use, so you know how to use them better for the project. So on this, I knew specifically how I wanted to portray the beating without actually showing it. You know.
Yeah, which worked perfectly.
So we had makeup, which is real. Shout out to Scene. But that's pretty much it. You know, we used the Sherry's movement and the editing to convey what's happening.
Right.
So that was.
And I want to. Oh, sorry.
What was that?
I want to throw in there about Greg. He was such a seasoned actor. I remember when we were doing the first scene where I was watching him, and I was just amazed at how he really made you feel you were in the room with it was creepy. I mean, it was crazy. He nailed that character.
He set the vibe on the set.
I mean, I remember just like, oh my goodness. I mean, I was so impressed with him on how he captured that character. And there was no I mean, you really just felt it when he started acting. And also Sherry, she cried on demand so well, that's not easy to do. So props to her for that.
Yeah.
One thing I did say was that if we ever had an El Paso Oscars, this movie would have taken a lot of those awards, like best actor, best supporting actor, you know, best director.
Now that you're actually talking about that, Juan, I think it's important, Jonathan and Jesse, for you guys to mention just how many awards and how many film festivals this film has been in, because it's been amazing, this festival run.
It's still currently doing its festival run, but it's actually, I think, been in about 7 or 8 festivals. It's won 2 awards, I believe. One for Best Olympus, for the Olympus Festival. And I believe it's been nominated for 4 other festivals. And it also, I think it also got nominated in one festival for 4 or 5 different awards. One was for...
I think one of us Best Ensemble Cast.
Yeah, Best Ensemble Cast. The others were Best Sound Mixing, Best Student Film, because I was still technically a student. And what else was there? I believe it was also Best Thriller, Best... there was also at the El Paso Mini Fest, Best El Paso Film. It was nominated for that as well. And then it was for Borderlands Film Festival. It also was nominated for Best of the Border Complex.
It just comes to show, guys, this film's fantastic. The cast, crew, everybody did a fantastic job on this picture, and it's the award-winning film Precognition, written by Jonathan Gonzales and directed by Jesse Fraire, and collaboration really. Tower Productions presents in association with John Gunn Productions and with Jay Friday, and it was fantastic, man. It was just fantastic all around to be working.
Jesse, did you get a chance to speak about your cast? I wasn't too sure. Just something nice about them that you loved about working with them on set.
Well, I think I concur on everything that everyone is saying. They are great. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to have directed these wonderful actors. They made our job easy, and you don't get that all the time. So shout outs to them. Greg, thank you so much for the work that you do, and I hope that when this quarantine thing ends, we get to do more stuff together, because we have to. I mean, I would like to bring the best of the best in the community, and we can do something really cool. Tessa, of course, she was very lovely on when we directed the music video, and I remember she mentioned that she wanted to do something a little different than a femme fatale, and she was perfect in it. I mean, she's a sweetheart, and she, of course, if she wouldn't be so far right now, I think we could done really something nice. And Greg and Cherry, of course, they're my sweethearts also, and little Michael. I know we will see more for him,
Mikey.
And thank you, Tower Productions, for bringing this together. I know that right now the quarantine is not letting us be together, but with the hearts. So,
all right, that's pretty good. To finish this off, Delao, what's the good word of the day, man?
Yes, boy.
A word of the day to finish off. Wow.
For everybody, the audience.
I've been waiting for this.
Brad seems like he's gonna know this, but Brad, if you know this,
well, I got two words. One is kind of a general, I guess, fun fact, because I don't think everybody knows the exact definition. But can you give me the definition of pandemic?
What? Pandemic?
No. Because like a lot of us right now, I think we're thinking of it in a very negative term and all that. But the actual definition is just something that's widespread or general. And I think right now, because of everything that's going on, it feels like it's a panic, and it's a widespread panic, but really it just means that it's kind of spread out everywhere. And I think something to remember is that we all understand what everybody's going through, because we're also in the same situation, and we're also all in this together and trying to make the best out of the situation. So like us bringing the TowerCast back and us trying to move forward in the best possible way, just know that just because it might have a scary label like pandemic doesn't mean that it is a panic. It's something that means just we're in this together, and no matter what, we're going to get through this together. And, I think things are going to be okay in the very end.
We needed that.
We did. What's the second one?
The second one is escapade. Can anybody?
That's for the guest. For the guest.
Escapade. Well, to have something where you can go and free yourself. No?
Maybe. An escapade.
Brad, what's your guess?
Brad, Tessa?
Escapade?
Yes, Tessa.
In I don't know, an adventure of some sort?
Yeah.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
And Tessa, do you have any?
Escapade, I feel like going and losing yourself. I'm thinking of like a shopping escapade where you go and you buy a book, as an example.
The actual definition of escapade is an adventurous, unconventional act.
Oh,
wow.
I was gonna guess something like that, like about rapscallion. For some reason, I just think of the word rapscallions when I heard escapade. Yeah. Like those rapscallions and their escapades are always up to something.
Yeah, it's something that's adventurous. It's unconventional. Where we're coming together via Skype, but it's working out. It's its own little escapade, but I think it's coming together really well. To throw in my 2 cents, thank you all for coming on and really making this podcast. I think this has been one of the ones that we've had like the most guests on. And most people and collaboration, hearing everybody's stories and experience. So Brad, Tessa, Jonathan, Jesse, everybody who's here and everybody who came on before and we don't have here, like Michael Head and Mikey. It's been amazing hearing all of your experiences and just having such a great ensemble come together. I feel like in filmmaking and in all departments, it's a collaborative effort. And, we try to talk about that here on the podcast, but I feel like hearing your stories, experiences really shows how much it takes like a village to come together and create one mind to really make something beautiful and amazing like this film. So thank you all for coming on. And I mean, the film came out terrific. I feel it just, everybody's performance was on this. So that's just my 2 cents, but yeah, out of my heart, it was great.
Appreciate it, Michael. Those were good words.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, I think that about does it for us towering filmmakers. I don't know if anything else has to be said. Anybody want to say something before we go?
Jonathan, you want to give any shout outs? Brad, Tessa?
Yeah, shout out to everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited. Shout out
where
to
can people reach you guys? My bad. Where can people reach you guys?
You guys can find me on my Facebook page. I am also currently in post on my next short film that I wrote and direct. One of the producers, De La O, is actually someone who helped me out with that one. Cool. And he's been he was the handyman for that one, and Jesse's helping out with the sound mixing and the color correction for that one. That one's actually close to being finalized completely, like I think within the next week or two. And I'm excited for that one. So shout out to my crew for that one. It's called En tus brazos esta noche, or In Your Arms Tonight. And so that one, shout out to my cast and crew for that one, and to everybody who I've worked with in the past or who I haven't given the time to properly introduce or say thank you to. Thank you so much. I apologize for not remembering your names at this point, but thank you so much. I apologize for that. And
Tessa, where can people find you?
You can find me on my IG. It's at Tessa Mauer, TESSA MAUER. You can also look me up on Facebook. I have been releasing covers. I'm working on some new music that will be coming out soon, hopefully. So, check it out. And I miss everyone, miss El Paso, and hopefully we'll be visiting soon.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And what about you, Brad?
I have a Facebook page as well. But it's under Brad Lee Thomason. So it's like Brad space Lee space Thomason. And send me a friend request. I'll say yes.
Yeah, for real. Awesome. Juan, take this off.
All right, you guys. I think that about does it. Thank you, Brad, for being quite the raddest selectors of them all. Thank you, thank you, Tessa, for being the quintessa of the movie.
Yes.
And Jonathan Gonzales. Jesse, you guys did something amazing. I will always hold this movie dear to my heart because it was my first experience on a set with everybody, and I was very honored to have worked on it. I know everybody else feels that way too. We want to thank you guys because you guys have given Tower like a cult classic. I guarantee you this movie is only going to get more and more traction as the years goes on. So I want to make everybody know that you guys were a part of something special, and keep going forward. Keep delivering us another great performance, another great picture, another great script. Don't let anybody detract you from that. We love you guys. But that about does it for us, towering filmmakers. Thank you guys so much. We believe in you. Keep writing your scripts. Keep memorizing your monologue. If you haven't already heard this from anybody else besides your mom, we love you. Have a great day. And stay safe, wash your hands, and wear your mask.